Welcome to the deep dive.
Okay, so you've given us this really fascinating chapter on linguistic anthropology. Our job today.
Mm.
Cut through the academic terms and really get into how language works.
Right, how we get it, and maybe most importantly, why keeping the world's languages alive is so critical for, well, for all of us.
We're definitely moving past just like verb conjugations today.
Oh yeah,
Right.
we're looking at language as this really core human thing, and the source material kicks off with this built-in tension, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can our greatest invention also cause so much trouble?
That's it exactly. It goes way back. Ancient Greeks, logos, they saw language as the thing that basically made us rational, civilized even.
But they also saw the flip side, how it could be used to manipulate, to deceive, to start conflicts. It's got this duality.
And that feeling that language is both essential and potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
That hasn't really gone away.
Not at all. Which brings us to the, I guess you could call it the central argument here.
Hmm.
Our survival, maybe even civilization's survival, really depends on preserving all these different languages.
Yeah.
The chapter calls language the overarching memory system of the human species. That's a powerful idea.
It is. Because when a language dies, it's not just words disappearing, it's a whole way of thinking, a unique window into human consciousness, just gone forever.
Okay, so if it's this vital memory system, we need to understand its parts. The chapter starts with a really key distinction: language versus speech.
Yeah, and it's crucial. We tend to use them, interchangeably, but they're not the same. Language is the underlying system, the signs, the rules in our head.
Like the mental software,
Yeah.
coming from Latin lingua, tongue, but meaning the thought forms, the signs themselves.
Exactly. A sign points to something else. You hear red, you think of the color, not the sounds, R-E-D. That's language.
In speech.
Speech is just using that system, talking, writing, signing, transmitting the message. So you could have language, the mental system, without actually speaking, but you definitely can't have speech without language first.
Right, got it. And thinking about that memory system again, the numbers are pretty stark, about 6,000 languages today.
Roughly, yeah. And every single one does the job, lets its speakers classify their world, name what matters to them, they all work.
But the prediction is grim. More than half might vanish in the next 100 years.
That's the projection. And it's hitting indigenous languages, especially in the Americas, really hard. It's like deleting unique files from humanity's hard drive. Whole conceptual worlds just erased.
Wow. But even with all that diversity, the chapter says they all share, like, 5 common elements.
That's right. Doesn't matter if it's English or Swahili or Yoruba. First, a limited set of distinct sounds. Phonology, phonemes, usually only 20 to 60.
Okay.
Second, units that carry meaning. Basically words. That's morphology, how words are built.
Third is grammar. Syntax. Putting sentences together.
Yep. The rules for building sentences, texts. Fourth is really interesting, pragmatics. The strategies for social use.
Like knowing how to ask for something depending on who you're talking to. Friend versus boss.
Exactly. It's all about context. And fifth, every language has ways to make new words and adapt over time. Languages aren't static.
People have been studying this stuff for ages, apparently. Panini, back in 400s BCE India.
Yeah, working with Sanskrit, he came up with something like 4,000 rules showing how words are built from smaller bits, like adding in and muli to complete to get in completely. He saw the structure.
And Aristotle, around the same time in Greece, gave us subject and predicate.
Still fundamental. The boy subject. Eats pizza predicate. We still use that basic analysis.
So Panini and Aristotle could map out the rules, but the big mystery remains. How does a 5-year-old just get it? All those complex rules, seemingly without being explicitly taught.
That's the million-dollar question, the acquisition puzzle. And it throws us right into that classic nature versus nurture debate.
Plato's poverty of stimulus idea comes up here.
Right. The argument is that kids just don't hear enough examples, especially not enough examples of complex sentences or corrections, to possibly learn everything they end up knowing. The input seems too poor.
So the suggestion is, some of it must already be there, not quite an empty slate.
Exactly. Something innate. Now, the modern view is it's a mix, a synergy. But Noam Chomsky really pushed the innate side hard with his idea of universal grammar, UG.
Okay, universal grammar, what's the core idea?
Chomsky argued that all human languages, deep down, share fundamental rule-making principles. Parameters, he called them. These are built in, available to every kid.
Which would explain why kids learn language so fast and why all languages have certain things in common, structurally.
That's the logic, yeah. It accounts for the speed and the universality.
But, Does that feel a bit too mechanical? Like it downplays the creative side of language use or even cultural influence?
That's a really important point. And the chapter brings in Lev Vygotsky as a counterpoint. He focused less on just the rules, the syntax, and more on how children are actually creative meaning makers.
Little poets, he called them.
Yeah. His famous example, a child calls the moon a ball. No one taught them that specific link. They've noticed the roundness in ball and creatively applied that feature to the moon. They're using figurative language, making connections.
So it's not just absorbing rules, it's actively constructing meaning. I like that.
Me too. Then there's another big concept, the critical period hypothesis from Eric Lenneberg.
Right, the idea that there's a window, maybe to puberty, where language acquisition happens naturally, and after that, it's much harder.
Exactly. He based it partly on studies of aphasia language loss due to brain injury. Kids who had injuries affecting language were more likely to recover fully than adults with similar injuries.
Which suggests the brain's plasticity for language changes over time.
Seems so. And this brings us to cases like Jeannie, found tragically late around 13 after extreme isolation.
And she never fully acquired language, did she?
No, not native-like fluency. It's often cited as evidence for the critical period. But the chapter rightly cautions us there could have been other factors, maybe pre-existing issues or just the sheer horror of her upbringing. It's complex, not clear-cut proof.
We also need to talk about the physical side, right? How our bodies are even set up for vocal speech.
Absolutely. It hinges on something unique to humans, our lowered larynx. The voice box sits lower in the throat compared to other primates.
And that creates a space.
It creates the pharyngeal chamber above the vocal cords. That space allows us to shape and modify sounds in incredibly complex ways. It develops around 3 months old in babies.
Interesting. So that physical adaptation is a prerequisite for the kind of speech we have, even though it makes us more likely to choke.
That's the evolutionary trade-off, yeah. Better speech, higher choking risk.
Okay, so we've got the building blocks, acquisition. Yeah. Now, how did this study of language shift towards culture, toward linguistic anthropology?
Well, it started getting more systematic. So William Jones, late 1700s, noticed similarities between Latin, Greek, Sanskrit. He suggested they must have come from a common source, Proto-Indo-European. That kicked off comparative grammar.
Then Saussure came along later and really tried to make it a science.
Yeah, Ferdinand de Saussure was key. He made a crucial distinction. Diachronic study, looking at language change over time, historically versus synchronic study.
Which is like taking a snapshot, looking at the language system at one specific point in time.
Exactly. He wanted to analyze the system itself, the lang, the underlying rules, before getting bogged down in how people actually used it day to day, the parole. Understand the game before analyzing the plays.
Makes sense. So how did that lead to anthropology getting involved?
Enter Franz Boas, early 20th century anthropologist. He took Saussure's structuralist ideas, but changed the goal. For Boas, it wasn't just about describing grammar rules in the abstract.
What was it about them?
It was about understanding how a specific group of people uses their language for their particular social and cultural life. How does language function in a community? That shift is basically the birth of linguistic anthropology.
And that connects directly to language, thought, and culture being linked. The Whorfian hypothesis.
Precisely. Developed by Edward Sapir and his student Benjamin Lee Whorf. The core idea isn't that language determines thought, but that it predisposes us. It makes us pay attention to certain things our language encodes as important or necessary.
George Lakoff's cognitive linguistics builds on this too, right? Seeing language as fundamentally figurative.
Yes. Lakoff argues our conceptual systems are built on metaphors, which are then reflected in language. It's not just literal rules.
The chapter uses that incredible example from Direball, the Australian language.
Oh, it's unforgettable. One of their grammatical gender classes lumps together nouns for, what was it? Women, fire, and dangerous things.
Wow. Just grouping those together tells you so much about a worldview, doesn't it? So different from, say, grammatical gender in French or German.
Completely. And that's what linguistic anthropology does. It looks for those links between how language is structured and how society is structured.
Like the kinship example. English just has uncle. Simple.
Right. Covers your mom's brother, your dad's brother, your aunt's husband. It's broad.
But other languages have totally separate words for each of those relationships.
Many do. And having those distinct words often signals distinct social roles, obligations, or expectations for each type of uncle. The language structure reflects a more specific social structure for kinship.
This is all leading up to the biggest question, maybe. Where did language even come from in the first place? Glottogenetics.
Yeah, the study of language origins. And funny enough, it was actually banned from discussion by linguistic societies for a while because it was just pure guesswork, endless speculation.
Really? Banned?
Yeah. Too much theory, zero evidence back then. The early ideas Otto Jespersen reviewed were mostly these echoic theories, trying to link language back to imitation.
Like the Bow Wow theory.
Yeah.
Imitating animal sounds.
Right. Or poo-poo based on instinctive cries like ouch, ding-dong, imitating sounds in the world like splash, yo-hee-ho, chanting during group work, la-la, sounds from play or social interaction.
All trying to find a sound-based origin.
Pretty much. But then there's the competing idea, maybe gesture came first?
How would that work?
Richard Paget's mouth gesture theory suggested that hand gestures were sort of unconsciously mimicked by the mouth, lips, and tongue. Over time, this turned into vocal sounds.
And vocal speech won out because it's more practical.
That's the argument. You can talk in the dark, talk while your hands are busy doing other things, talk over longer distances. It's more adaptive in many situations.
What about the attempts to teach language to apes? Washoe, Noam Chomsky, Coco.
Right, those famous studies using things like American Sign Language. And look, they achieved some remarkable things. Washoe, especially, seemed to combine signs creatively.
But the conclusion was?
Ultimately, they couldn't definitively rule out that it was very sophisticated conditioning, not true language acquisition in the human sense. The big missing piece was complex syntax.
You mentioned Noam Chomsky's sentences.
Yeah, his longest recorded utterances were things like, give orange me, eat orange me, eat orange, give me eat orange, give me you. Repetitive, demanding, but not really showing the grammatical structure of ASL or any human language.
Just stringing signs together, basically, so not quite the real deal.
Seems not. And this is where Charles Hockett's design features come in handy. He proposed a list of characteristics that define true human language, setting it apart from other communication systems.
What are some key ones?
Displacement is huge, talking about things that aren't right here, right now, yesterday, next week, somewhere else.
Okay. Arbitrariness.
No inherent connection between the sound of a word, like dog, and the actual animal. The connection is purely conventional, agreed upon.
And duality of patterning.
That's crucial. We have a small set of meaningless sounds phones, like B-A-T, but we can combine them into a vast number of meaningful units, words like bat, tab, at, 2 levels of structure.
So meaningless bits build meaningful chunks.
Exactly. And Hockett argued only human language has all 13 of his features working together.
The bee dance example helps here, right?
Perfect comparison. These can communicate the location of distant food that's displacement. They definitely have that. But the dance isn't arbitrary. The angle directly relates to the sun. And it lacks duality of patterning. The wiggles and turns don't break down into smaller, meaningless units that recombine. It's sophisticated, but it's not human language by Hockett's criteria.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. So, quick recap. Language isn't just speech. It's that underlying sign system with those 5 core properties. Sounds, meaning units, grammar, social use, and adaptability.
And getting language, acquiring it, seems to be this amazing interplay between some kind of innate blueprint, maybe like Chomsky's UG.
And that active, creative construction Vygotsky highlighted. Kids aren't just sponges, they're poets figuring things out.
And the heart of linguistic anthropology is really exploring that deep connection between how a language is structured and how its speakers think and organize their world.
Right, like the durable grouping, women, fire, dangerous things, or how different languages carve up kinship terms like uncle. Language reflects and maybe shapes cultural thought.
So the final takeaway for you listening right now, what does this all actually mean?
Well, think about the Whorfian idea again. The specific, seemingly random rules of your native language, how you classify things, the grammar you absorbed as a kid, they might be subtly guiding what you pay attention to, what categories seem natural or necessary to you, literally shaping your perception of reality every single day without you even noticing.
It really makes you step back and think about how much the language we speak influences the world we experience.
It absolutely does, the lens we see through.
Truly mind-bending stuff. A huge thank you for walking us through this source material. It's been fascinating. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.